Hi everyone, welcome to this week's video. As it's October this month, we thought we'd do some horror films, month of Halloween and all that, so every week we're going to do a different horror film that you might not have heard of and might want to check out.
Yes, and the first one we've chosen to do is Martyrs. Martyrs was released in 2008 in France. It was part of the new French extremism movement that came out around that time. That featured other films such as Frontiers and
Switchblade Romance.
Switchblade Romance. Inside, I think, was another one, and possibly a few other ones like it.
Yes, unsettling horror films.
And extremely violent horror films.
So the plot is, I don't want to go into too much details because it's best going in with knowing as little as possible because it goes in some directions that you just would not expect at all. But basically, it opens with a little girl called Lucy. She's running down the street. She's all bloodied and bruised and looks extremely distressed. And it turns out that she's been missing for a year and has been held captive in this warehouse and tortured. Obviously, this has damaged her quite a lot, and she's put in an orphanage. Makes friends with another girl called Anna. She's obviously very disturbed, has nightmares, keeps seeing this strange creature that stalks her at night. But then we cut to a few years later, when she's a grown-up, she's still friends with Anna. She decides to do a home invasion on this family and just kills them all. For no apparent reason at first. Turns out there is a reason for it. Again, don't want to spoil it. And then the film goes on from there. It sounds unpleasant. It is unpleasant. You know, it's not a film to be enjoyed, I would say. It's more to be endured. So the two grown-up versions of the characters. Lucy is played by Mylène Jampanoï, and Anna is played by Morjana Alaoui. And they're both, very committed to the role. They put their all into it, I think.
They do, yeah.
There's some quite traumatic events that take place,
yeah.
And they're very convincing in the roles.
Yeah, so it was directed by Pascal Laugier. He did a film before Martyrs called Saint Ang, which I haven't seen, and then after it he did a film called The Tall Man, and recently he did a film called Incident in the Ghostland. I think that came out this year. It was coming out this year. He was tipped at one point to remake Hellraiser, but that fell through because apparently he wanted to do something good and dark and messed up, and the producers wanted to make it for teenagers. I do think Hellraiser by the director of Martyrs would have been quite interesting.
Yeah, I would have watched that, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so unfortunately that doesn't seem to be happening.
As I mentioned before, it's not a fun watch, shall we say. It's not one to sit with, to get your mates around and watch with beers and pizza, maybe.
No.
It has something to say, and it says it in violent ways, but it's go on.
Yeah, no. I thought it was good. I have a few issues with it, but for the most part, the first time I saw it, I found it is a painful watch. I was quite interested because a lot of people said that they thought the beginning was the best, really good beginning, well tightly edited and everything, and then it kind of fell apart at the end. I feel like the other way round.
No, I do as well. Yeah.
I think I prefer. And we're not going to give anything away, but I think the last 20 minutes is where the director was asking questions, and I think he, that's what he came up with. But I think it's got what I like about the last section, although the last section is really grueling to sit through because it's pretty hard going what happens. I think things that are being said in the film are really interesting. I think there's a lot of imagery that he plays with. I think it being a French film, there's certainly imagery going back to, it's kind of Holocaust imagery in there.
Yeah.
I think I did read this somewhere, was a slight link to Joan of Arc, because Joan of Arc herself was, apart from being French, she was tried for having visions of God, and she wasn't tortured, but she was burnt at the stake, and ultimately that led to her being martyred.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think there are certainly things in the film which are interesting questions, and I don't know for me personally whether it was all answered, and obviously we're not talking about the plot, so some people say it's like one of the most disturbing films ever made. I disagree with that. I think there are way more disturbing films out there. Certain films you can possibly link it to, the Salo, which is one you can possibly link it to, and Eyes Without a Face, a film that came out in the 1960s, which is kind of experimentations on women.
I think a lot of people think it's part of the torture porn scene, which I don't I don't think it is. To be
No,
honest. I mean, I think something like Hostel, again, it's an unpleasant watch, but it feels like it's for the sake of it in Hostel, whereas this has a purpose.
I felt it. I felt it was more like that the first time I saw it. I was a bit offended by it the first time I saw it, and I just thought, "What the hell is this?" It's just too much. But then on the second watch, I started trying to read into it a little bit more, and trying to understand it in a different way. And I did also read that the director apparently was suffering with depression when he wrote it. So I think that tells you a lot about some of the feelings that someone has when they're suffering with something like that. And obviously, the best art and the best creativity comes out of problems in your life or others' lives. And I think from that point of view, if you read it like that, he clearly was searching for answers in his own life, and he was able to put them out into this scenario. And I think he did that really well.
I mean, I think if you can endure it, you can sit through it. It definitely has a payoff at the end. When I first watched it, I was like, "What am I watching? why am I putting myself through this?" But it does. I want to say rewards you at the end. I don't know if that's the right word, but it has like I say, it has a payoff that makes sense for the rest. Makes the rest of the film feel like it wasn't just for the sake of it, like something like Hostel would be. But yeah, it's not
a fun Halloween
film. It's not like watching Freddy or Jason or something. It's maybe not as unknown as some of the films that we've covered in previous videos. But if you do want to check it out, the Blu-ray, DVD, and everything is widely available. I think you probably find it streaming.
You must be able to find it streaming.
It's not
somewhere,
difficult to get hold of. It's like we say, it's not a particularly forgotten film.
Well, that was Martyrs.
Yep.
And if you enjoyed this video, give us a like or subscribe.
Yep.
And we'll be back next week with another horror film.
We will, yeah.
Until then,
See you soon.